Would I be the a-hole if I didn't pay for my daughter's college tuition? I, 44 male, am divorced and have been for over 10 years now. My ex-wife and I have 2 children, one son Ben, 19, and one daughter Lauren, 17. My ex-wife and I split custody 50-50, and I paid child support on time every month, as well as ensured our children had everything that they needed for sports and other activities. At a young age, I started a college fund/early life starter fund for the kids, which they were aware of, and has grown to be a large amount through the years. Over the years, I have always had my children on my time and tried to be present in their lives. Ben has always been happy to come to my home, have family time, tell me about his life, have a father-son role pretty much. Lauren, on the other hand, is the total opposite. She pulled away at a young age, and when she was old enough to decide for herself, she cut me out pretty much 100%. I spent years of reaching out to her and trying to build some type of bridge with her, but nothing ever worked. She went to a few different therapists, and I can only hope it helped in some other aspects of her life, but it certainly didn't help in a family role. Over the past few years, my son has become angry with his sister and calls her ridiculous. I've told him to not mind that and it's not her fault, but him leaving for college changed me on the whole thing. When I left, I felt like I lost my only child, and I gave up trying to have a relationship with Lauren. She never reached back out, and neither did I. It felt terrible at first, but it's much easier to deal with mentally for me. A few weeks ago, Lauren and her mother reached out to talk about her college tuition and where she had decided to go. They asked me if I wanted to go walk the school with them again, and I declined. I told them that I felt I was only being invited because my checkbook was needed. I informed my ex and Lauren that I would not be paying for college or any other of her expenses after her 18th birthday, June, and that I was going to use the money elsewhere. My ex blew up at me. My daughter didn't say anything, and when they told my son, he called to tell me he thought I was right and Lauren was to blame. I wasn't a fan they told him to begin with. However, now there's a rift between the 3 of them. Should I just let this whole thing go and pay for her education? Would I be the a-hole if I stuck to my decision? Now for the top comments. Info. Why did she cut you off? You leave a very important detail out. When my ex and I divorced, my ex kept our house, which was close to her friends and family. I moved to the other side of town, maybe 25 minutes away. She pulled away after I moved out and has told me that she wants to spend time with her friends and grandparents. Just to say, I voted not the a-hole. Is it possible that your daughter blames you for the breakup, or was it a take sides kind of situation? My ex-wife's entire family blames everything on me. My ex-wife's sister was having an affair. I found out she was covering for her sister's whereabouts and why, and told her husband. Not the a-hole. I do not understand Reddit's hive mind to spout that parents should accept their children's hurtful behavior, especially when they're old enough to know that their actions hurt. I also don't get why someone who goes no contact is entitled to someone to fund their lifestyle after no longer being a minor. Parents are human beings. They aren't infallible individuals with no feelings. Lauren is being incredibly selfish and extremely entitled to think she should be funded for college by a person she has chosen to exit a relationship with. I hope he's not a walking bank. You spent time reaching out, and she has blocked it every term. At some point, this adult, because college students are adults, has to recognize there are consequences to your actions. I think Ben is completely right. Your ex-wife should be blowing up at you. She should have spent those previous years helping her daughter to therapy to understand this intense dislike. Lauren went to therapy, and Daddy basically blew her off when she was 10 because she wasn't the daughter he wanted. Now he's further punishing her by taking away her college fund at near last minute. No, he isn't punishing her. She chose to not have a relationship with him. Going no contact means no contact. It means no financial banking. She was a child. Technically, she's still a child. And his last-minute withdrawing money that was set aside starting years ago with the expectation that it would be used for her college, that is punishment. And now she's going to be an adult with adult responsibilities. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for preventing my ex from moving 3 hours away with our kids? It's created huge conflicts in both households now. My ex-wife blindsided me with news that she was moving 3 hours away with her fiancé because he got a better paying job. And the kids, who are 11 and 14, wanted to move too. I have week-on/week-off custody. There was no way I was giving up that for just every other weekend visitation. I then found out that her fiancé had already sold his home here and had bought another one there. I immediately went to court to get an emergency order preventing the move. My ex begged me to let her go, but I refused. In the end, she was prevented from taking the kids more than 50 kilometers from where I live. Unfortunately, the fiancé broke up with my ex because of this, and she has had to move in with her mother while she looks for an apartment because she can't afford a big house anymore. I would like to say that I won, but I didn't. My kids are now extremely angry with me for causing their mother to lose her fiancé. They hate living cooped up in their grandmother's home, and are now taking out all their anger in our household. They've said some heartbreaking stuff to me and my wife. My ex, who I used to co-parent amazingly with, now does everything she can to create turmoil in my household. She has even verbally told me that she's going to use our kids to break up my marriage as revenge. And my kids have done stuff that make me believe she's going through with her threats. My wife is saying she's at her limit. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted though? I just didn't want to lose my kids. Info. Did you talk to your kids about whether or not they wanted to move before you sought an emergency order preventing it? Might they have been promised some sort of bribe to go? My fear would be that you may have won the battle by preventing the move, but that you stand to lose the war. At 14, your oldest is likely to be old enough to have their wishes given very serious consideration if they no longer want to stay with you. And if your youngest is not yet old enough, they're not far off. They wanted to move, but it was because they were promised a horse at the new house. I felt they were being bribed to be kept away from me. And kids have a sane custody when they're 15 where we live. My youngest is only 11. If this had been a proper discussion, I might have decided differently. But I felt forced to get the emergency order because it happened so last minute. This is probably going to be unpopular, but everyone sucks here. The kids are old enough to decide where they want to be. At any point during this, did you actually talk to them to see what they wanted? It doesn't sound like either of you are actually trying to put the kids first. Edit. Can you elaborate on what your children are doing that's ruining your marriage? At any point during this, did you actually talk to them to see what they wanted? And the kids, who are 11 and 14, wanted to move too. Yeah, I saw that, but I'm still wondering if he actually sat down and had a conversation with them before reacting the way he did. I just wonder if he actually tried to hear them out or just decided their feelings weren't valid. Like saying they only wanted to move due to bribes, which may be true, but did Opie come to that conclusion by having an honest conversation, or did he just decide that himself without listening to them? It could be that they genuinely wanted this new opportunity and they truly just liked their mother's new partner. Totally fair. He replied that it was because they were promised a horse at the new house. So it could have genuinely been bribe motivated, but it could also have been more complex. I do think at their age, their wants should have been considered more seriously than it seems they were. I also find weaponizing your kids to be abhorrent behavior, so I'm fully on board with everyone sucks here. This is awful, but you did not create this situation. She did. Not today, Hall, and the courts agree with you. She had to know this would be a problem, which is why she didn't tell you until it was too late for her to make other reasonable plans. If her fiancé actually broke up with her over this, they didn't have a very strong relationship to begin with. The next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole for making my half-siblings take DNA tests? My dad was a pro athlete. He wasn't famous, but he was a steady presence on a team that was. When his career ended after injury, his first wife divorced him, cleaned him out, and got custody of their kids, turned his kids against him, and never remarried so she wouldn't lose the alimony payments. When Dad met my mom, his ex threw a fit because Mom came from a poor family / wasn't white, and according to his ex, she was a gold-digging hoe because she was pregnant before they got married. My mom died when I was young, and we struggled for money between the payments Dad was making and his injury / lack of education, making it hard for him to get a job. My half-brothers were really well off from his support payments and the money from their mom and her close friend she was living with. Whenever they stayed with us, they made it clear that they were only there because of the custody order and that they thought we were trash. When Dad saw how upset they were making me after my mom died, he stopped asking them to come. Dad passed away a few months ago. His will left everything to me, so I'm basically set for a modest life. As adults, my half-brothers never had contact with him, not even on holidays or his birthday. Suddenly, they're saying that I'm not his. They're going to compel a DNA test, that I influenced his will, and they're taking me to court. I have no doubts that I'm his, thanks to a DNA test I already took years ago for non-paternity reasons that they don't know about. What I am starting to question is if any of them are his sons. Would I be the a-hole for agreeing to take a test, but insisting that they have DNA tests too, knowing that I'm not going to give them anything even if they pass? They and their mother treated my parents and me horribly. And I want to know how far the hypocrisy stretches. I also sincerely want to not have any of them actually be my family. Now for the top comments. Info. What would be the point of demanding DNA tests from these people when it changes nothing? Your father left a will. They are not in the will. DNA does not change that, so what's the point? I think depending on their relation, if nothing is given, they can contest the will, which I assume is why they're taking her to court, so it would just cement the fact they have no rights to anything of the dad's. They already aren't your family. Just go no contact with them. How would they even compel a test? Did your father have a will that said, my stuff goes to my favorite son/daughter, or did it say, my stuff goes to OP? Not they, Hull. They definitely are, but just drop the rope already, for your own mental health. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for trying to stop my dad having a baby with his wife? My 22 female, dad 52 male, and his wife 42 female got married around 8 years ago. She was initially very charming and sweet, but behind closed doors, she became very manipulative a few years into their marriage. I, still in university, moved in with my dad and his wife when I was 19, and she made it clear she didn't want me around. I also became increasingly concerned about the way she treated my dad. I witnessed constant gaslighting, and I could see him beginning to doubt himself all the time. They were also trying for a baby, and his wife had 2 miscarriages over this period of time. My dad let me know that he did not really want a baby. However, he wanted to make her happy. At that point, I did not have any problem with them having a child together. However, there was constant tension in the house, and his wife eventually moved out into a flat nearby. She maintained to my dad that they were still in a relationship, and he remained loyal to her. However, she became unavailable to my dad and was constantly out at bars, being cagey with her phone around him, etc. Basically, it seemed to me that she was stringing him along while possibly seeing other people. That was 14 months ago, and for the past 6 months or so, she has refused to contact my dad in any way other than sending each other letters back and forth. She has also since moved 7 hours away from us, and so her and my dad have not seen each other for around 6 months. About 9 months ago, my dad's mom, my grandma, died, and she did not answer any of his calls during this time period, although she knew what was going on. Recently, my dad has been really unhappy about how unavailable his wife is. He has been drinking much more, and seems really depressed. So the other day when I found one of the letters from my dad's wife to him, I read it. I know this was nosy and invasive, but I did out of concern for my dad. In the letter, she says that she has, as they have agreed, I didn't know this, been going to an IVF clinic and was about to start the screening process. However, the clinic have told her they won't go ahead with screening because her and my dad are no longer together. She then says to my dad that they could get a solicitor to draft a parental agreement, but she says this would cost them thousands of pounds. So she suggested that instead, they both lie to the IVF clinic and say that they are together. It seems to me as if she's trying to dissuade my dad from a legal document which would protect him. To an outsider, it seems very clear that she doesn't want a relationship with my dad, refusing contact, moving 7 hours away, constant ultimatums and game playing. But that she wants to have a baby with him because he will pay for the IVF and will have to pay child support. She does not work. He earns a good amount. I would like to contact my dad's wife. She hasn't spoken to me since my grandma died, if only so she knows someone is onto her. Am I the a-hole for wanting to step in here? Not the a-hole. She's abusing your father. I would have a frank discussion with him about what, if any, benefits he gets out of the marriage. He needs to get a legal separation at the minimum and a divorce, just to protect himself from whatever he is doing. I would like to contact my dad's wife. She hasn't spoken to me since my grandma died, if only so she knows someone is onto her. OP, don't talk to her. Talk to your father like Dallas says. Not Dayhall. Hire a private investigator. Need pictures to show her with other men. She's probably living with another man. Lying to that man and definitely lying to your dad. She's trying to extort money out of him. Get your dad some help. He needs therapy to break out of whatever delusions he is under. Stepmom is diabolical. She doesn't need a baby. She wants money. She will convince him to deposit money in her account so that she can pay for treatment. Have your dad insist that the IVF has to be done in his city. Non-negotiable. Not Dayhall. I would write the IVF clinic and tell them she and your father have lived 7 hours apart since X date. I would also write that they intend to lie in their forms, and you don't think that is in the best interest of a baby. I have thought about doing that. I don't know how I'd provide evidence though, and whether the clinic would even care. I wish I knew what clinic it was too. It's somewhere 7 hours away where she lives.
Update. Brother-in-law's fiancé claims my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. Original post. This is a throwaway because I'm not quite ready for all of my husband's family to get involved, I think. I'm still reeling and trying to process this, so bear with me. So my brother-in-law is getting married soon. My husband is the best man, and our 4-year-old is the ring bearer. I'm a part-time party planner, so I've been helping plan a small luncheon for the bridal party, immediate family, and a few vendors on the wedding day, so I'm not exactly a fringe guest here. The RSVP deadline was a few weeks ago. I filled out the online form and submitted it the same day the invitation came in the mail, with my husband sitting right next to me. We RSVP'd for the 3 of us, me, my husband, and our son. Easy peasy, right? Well, brother-in-law's fiancé reached out today over text saying we never RSVP'd. Not, hey, I never saw your RSVP, just checking, but straight up, you didn't respond, which is frustrating on its own. But then she tells us that while my husband and son have seats at the reception, as they were part of her original headcount, I do not. My husband was told I could come early with him to set up the luncheon and stay for the ceremony, but that I would not have a spot at the reception. Let me repeat that. I'm married to the best man, mother of the ring bearer, and helping with wedding day logistics, including connecting sister-in-law with some of my professional contacts. And she somehow decided I just wouldn't be coming, and she never followed up before the RSVP deadline? Just what? I'm torn between feeling hurt, furious, and just flabbergasted. And used. I definitely feel used. At best, this was a sloppy mistake that she's not owning. At worst, it feels like a pointed exclusion, and I'm not sure which stings more. My husband is going to handle the conversation with his brother to figure out what is going on, because I genuinely don't trust myself to be polite and keep the peace. There was no other drama leading up to this that I was aware of. I have a good relationship with my in-laws. So yeah, this is totally out of left field for me and my husband. I would love to hear thoughts, especially from people who have gone through something similar. I don't typically touch weddings with work, so this is all new territory for me as a pseudo-vendor/guest. My husband wants to reach out and talk to his brother first, but I'm so tempted to reach out to my mother-in-law before our usual meetup tomorrow to see if she knows anything. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. You are smart to wait and let Hubs talk to his brother. I'm flabbergasted also. That is freaking nuts. And this is coming from someone who is totally laid back and not someone who usually takes things personally. Just try to take your mind off it and see what Hubs reports. Go from there. I'm usually pretty laid back too. I haven't seen the texts yet by Hubs, called on his lunch break when he saw them, and I have not heard him this angry in a long time. I'm trying to give sister-in-law the benefit of the doubt, but this feels very personal and intentional. Sounds like your son now has other things to do that weekend, and your luncheon should get accidentally canceled. Cancel the luncheon. If you are not welcome at the wedding, there is no need for you to be free labor. I think I'm going to do this no matter what the outcome is. It puts mother-in-law and father-in-law in a bit of a lurch since they're handling the food costs, but I don't know. I know I'm biased because I'm in the middle of it, but I feel like there should be some consequences. Definitely step back. Don't do anything for free. She deserves full consequences for this. Let your husband handle the communication. If your brother-in-law doesn't get it corrected, your husband gets to make his own choice to attend or not. When his wife is being purposefully excluded and your son stays home with you, this is completely unacceptable on your soon-to-be sister-in-law's part. It's actually disgusting that she clarified that you'd still be welcome to set up but not stay. Now for some mini updates. Small update. Husband and brother-in-law are talking now. Brother-in-law wasn't working today and was helping father-in-law with something this evening. When I called mother-in-law, she had brother-in-law call my husband right away. From what mother-in-law and I can hear, we're Snoopy. My husband was muted on brother-in-law's phone and my contact was deleted. Brother-in-law can't even log into the wedding website, so he can't check to see if our RSVP was there. I'm not sure if I want to become a firecracker myself or get some popcorn as I watch mother-in-law pop off. Mini update 2. Okay, here's the last update for the night. I am tired and a bit overwhelmed by all of your responses. I'm sorry I haven't replied to them all, but I have read most of them. Again, thank you for your advice and just general support during this really weird and upsetting time. Too long didn't read. Brother-in-law didn't know, and now the wedding is up in the air. He's currently staying with mother-in-law and father-in-law to have some space from his fiancée. So, my husband finally got a hold of brother-in-law after I called mother-in-law. No one else knew this was going on. While they were talking, brother-in-law tried logging into their wedding website to see if this was a mistake or misunderstanding, but couldn't log in. So he texted sister-in-law to see if she changed the password, and she just told him to come home instead. This set off 3 things. 1. Brother-in-law ended the call with my husband to call sister-in-law about why she couldn't answer a simple question. 2. Mother-in-law popped off about how dare that woman exclude OP. 3. Mother-in-law and father-in-law popped off on brother-in-law for already living with sister-in-law. They are very religious and traditional, and don't believe that a couple should live together before marriage. My husband and I sympathize with brother-in-law. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law argued over the phone. Apparently, she started claiming that it was an unfortunate glitch, and that it was too late to add another seat now. Then it was that we never jived, and would it really be so bad if I went home early? Plus, I could take our son home with me because he would be tired by then, at 5 p.m.? This woman does not know kids, I swear. Then it was that I've always been mean and excluded her from things, even though she's never invited me to any of the girly wedding events. At this point, my husband and I are glued to my phone as we're hearing yelling from all 4 of them until his sister-in-law hangs up. Brother-in-law is spending the night at his parents' and is unsure about the wedding now. He plans on going home tomorrow with my husband going with him for moral support. I'll be going with hubby to my in-laws to hang out until we hear back about the situation at the battlefront. Sorry, one more teeny 1 a.m. update. Husband is asleep. I should be too, but I'm still reeling and mad. I thought to take a screenshot of the message she sent my husband for future proof, and it's gone. She used Facebook Messenger to text my husband, and it says her texts are deleted. Now for the full update. So, hi. To preface, I did not expect my post to blow up the way it did. Several commenters mentioned it just popped up in their recommended, and holy jeez, it got way bigger than I could have ever imagined. So, thank you, I think. It's super overwhelming on top of the real-life soap opera I'm living through this weekend. Just to clarify something from the original post, I did not plan everything for the wedding. I offered to bring food for a small luncheon between photos, 10 a.m., and the ceremony, 4 p.m., as dinner wasn't planned until 6 p.m. It was going to be a long day at a farm in the middle of nowhere. I offered to do it to be nice, but also to make sure no one, specifically a certain 4-year-old, would be hangry for the ceremony. Sister-in-law also only used one of my vendor contacts, so with things going south, my professional reputation shouldn't really be impacted. Now the update. Turns out, the no seat for OP issue was the problem that broke brother-in-law's relationship. And we're a bit upset brother-in-law didn't talk to anyone about this until it blew up. Behind the scenes, brother-in-law and sister-in-law were having arguments about their future together. Most of these arguments centered around having kids. Early on, sister-in-law gave the impression that she wanted children someday. But as they got more serious, she started backtracking. A few months ago, brother-in-law realized that it's very likely sister-in-law never wanted kids, but felt too invested in the relationship to leave. But brother-in-law always imagined having a large family, so this really shook him. On top of that, sister-in-law apparently had jealousy and insecurity issues. Per brother-in-law, I've been her latest target, which started when I turned down going to a mani-pedi with her. Why did I turn her down? Husband and son had rotavirus. Apparently, I was icing her out by not wanting to spread gastrointestinal doom. Can anyone please explain this logic to us? Lastly, sister-in-law was apparently already floating the idea of disinviting our son from the reception because he would have been the only small child there. Brother-in-law shut that down immediately, and mother-in-law/father-in-law kept that knowledge from us to spare our feelings. Ergo, our lost RSVP was not a software glitch, nor was it an oversight, but a rather stupidly calculated move. Sister-in-law was apparently hoping one of two things would happen. Either I would make a scene about being disinvited and be seen as the problem, or we would quietly accept our fate, and she would not have to deal with two undesirables at her reception. With all of this in mind, I can't figure out why she would have messaged my husband instead of me. Was she trying to cause more family drama? Again, the logic is not logicking. Brother-in-law was already feeling some uncertainty because of the shifting kids or no kids conversation, but the deliberate seating stunt gave him the last push and clarity he needed. Brother-in-law told my husband it was a level of manipulation and cruelty that he could not overlook. So he ended things and asked for the ring back. No wedding, no reception, just a super messy, emotionally heavy, and expensive breakup. And I feel so bad for brother-in-law. He's going through so much heartache right now, but he deserves better in a partner. Hopefully, the ex-fiancé can find a family dynamic that doesn't feel like a never-ending battlefield. That's all for now. I'm still tired. I'm still flabbergasted, but I'm also relieved this wedding arc is coming to an end. Your not sister-in-law is an idiot. You'll hear no arguments from us. Children versus choosing to be child-free is one of those things that should be agreed upon well before you get to a wedding stage, and is a deal-breaker if you don't agree. There should never be lies about that. It will only ever lead to heartache. Totally agree with this. My husband and I were always on the same page about having a lot of kids. Unfortunately, life happens, and we'll only have one bio child. But if the universe opens up the opportunity to adopt in the future, we are open to it. Aw, poor brother-in-law. Expensive heartache, but glad he is out before an expensive divorce. He will find somebody for him. Take some rest, y'all. I know he will find someone that will be perfect for him. I'm still annoyed with him, though. He was lamenting being old and alone at dinner. And I was like, honey, you're the baby of the family. Have some more fries and shut up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for putting my pre-marriage house in trust so my children get it if something happens to me? I am 28, female, and recently married. My husband's parents have lots of property, but most of it is in their names and in trusts, so it won't be counted as his marital asset, including the house we live in. And if something happens to their son, it will go to his children only, which is fine. We don't have many joint assets, as we are recently married. I also inherited a house from my grandmother, and it is premarital property. It's in a prime location, and many businesses have offered me a buyout, but I refused. I moved that house into a trust, stating that irrespective of marriage or anything else, my future children will have equal access to that house, and it will be theirs in case something happens to me. I also plan to make it a rental property, considering I get a huge amount per room for wholesale shops that need space to store their materials. The rent will be so high that I won't need to work at all, though I still plan to work and save all the rental income. My husband is not happy and complained to his mom and dad, who tried to question me. I felt it was hypocritical, and I told them I respect and understand their choice of keeping premarital properties in a trust. This is my property, also premarital, so I did the same. They said it's not the same, and that I'm part of the family, and their son's properties would be accessible to me. I called out their BS and said only joint assets, which we will buy post-marriage, will have the same access for both of us. I also want to keep my children safe and secure in case something happens to me. They are angry, and my husband has a puffed-up face, but I refuse to back down. He is sleeping in the other room. Such a man-child. He said it's not the same since it's his parents' properties, but this house is mine and we are partners. I said I will not change the trust conditions. We are sleeping in different rooms now. I feel like an a-hole, but I feel it's fair. Note, in our culture, daughters-in-law are supposed to be provided stability and a safety net, which they didn't offer. So they can't expect me to give away my things to the family too. Now for the comments. The two situations are identical, and you have done nothing that he or they hadn't already done. The thing is, they are clearly approaching this from the point of view that their property is theirs, and that your property should be theirs too, if they can get away with it. Given your choice of the phrase, future children, I am interpreting that as you don't have any right now. If that is the case, run. Run while you still can. I agree. The other thing she needs to find out about is what happens if she does rent it out. Does that income become marital assets? Is there a way to keep that separate? I have no idea what the answer is. She's being really smart, not the a-hole. Your husband complains to his parents when he has an issue with you. This will be your life now. Interesting how what his parents do with their assets is fine, but not when you do it. You made a mistake choosing this guy, not the a-hole. I mean, I choose him because we were together for a decade. During college, when I had chicken pox and no one came near me, he was the friend who helped me those weeks without worrying, and that made me fall in love with him. So I believe we can solve this. Last story. Am I the a-hole for declining my sister's friend request to use my cabin? My name is Rose. I am 38 years old, and I have just one loving sister, although we live in different cities. I have a small cabin out of town that I inherited from my grandparents 3 years ago. It's about 2 hours from our family house. It's very quiet and has a lake nearby. Nothing really luxurious, but a great place to cool off. I do go there often, and I only allow close friends and family to use it if they ask in advance, as long as they use it neatly and treat it with respect. Earlier this week on Tuesday, I received a message on my Facebook from a woman I've met once. The only thing I know about her is that she's my sister's friend. During the course of our interactions, I then learned that she's a nurse. We chatted briefly at a barbecue last year. That was when I met her. She messaged me saying she had just learned about the cabin and wanted to know if it was available for the weekend. I told her no, that I was planning on going up this weekend myself. Her response was sharp, as if she was offended. Oh wow, okay. I just really needed a break. I've been on a tight working schedule for a week, and you know being a nurse is exhausting. This would have been a perfect reset for me. I figured you'd understand. I said I do understand, and I appreciate her work, but the cabin isn't available this weekend. I was hoping everything would end there, but she flared up. You don't even use it that often, right? I don't get extra money enough to afford places like that. I wouldn't have come to you. I just thought if you weren't selfish, you would offer it as a kindness. I knew where it was all headed. I read and ignored. Later, after some hours had passed, my sister called asking me what happened, saying her friend was really upset and felt like I was being rude and inconsiderate. It turned out that she told my sister I didn't care about her even as a healthcare worker, that I made that fact clear, and that it would have cost me nothing to let her use the cabin for 2 days. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If your sister is so bothered, she can pay for her friend to stay in an Airbnb somewhere. She admits her friend was being dramatic. Now, if your sister asks to use your place, you are going to have to worry that she's asking for her friend. I'd only let people use it if you are going as a group, and the group consists of people you actually know and like. Exactly. Get cameras ASAP if not already installed. Also programmable door locks so you can change them and not have keys floating out there. Not the a-hole. She's an entitled C-word. Seriously? The fact that my sister actually called me got me really mad too. Then I figured she only needed to hear my side of what happened. She's kind of a people pleaser. If one of my friends called or texted me to say my sister is rude to them, I would call my sister as well, but only to check in and hear her side of the story. And then I have to decide if I need to just tell my friend off, or if I would want to go low or even no contact. My sister would do the same, or my other siblings for that matter. I hope your sister is the same. Update. My mother-in-law hit our son, and my husband defended her. Original post. I'm 30 female and my husband is 29. We have a 3-year-old son. He is from South America. I'll call him Juan. He came to my country as an immigrant and can now stay permanently if he wants to. I've only met my mother-in-law in person on the day of our wedding, and she seemed like a nice old Latin lady. I'll call her Maria. She recently came to the country for a few weeks. Juan invited her so she could meet our son and see the wonders of our country, like gray skies, old buildings, and old people. She absolutely loved our son and was so happy to see him and play with him. Everything went well, but one day I left him with her for a moment while Juan and I went shopping for dinner. We were out for less than half an hour, and when we came back, our son was crying and came running to me as soon as he saw me come through the door. I asked Maria what had happened, and she said he was misbehaving, so I hit him with a spoon and he started to cry. I couldn't believe what she had said, so I asked her to repeat it, and she did, saying it as if she was proud of it. I asked her why she was so proud of hitting my son. She said she only hit him once, as if that made it better. This started an argument. She said that children need to be hit once in a while, or they'll become delinquents. She said that all her children were regularly hit with spoons or sandals and they all turned out fine. I couldn't stand it, so I told her to get out. She could stay in a hotel and wouldn't be allowed near my son again. She was so angry and started insulting me in Spanish, which I only half understood. It took me 3 hours to get her out of the house. Then I continued to argue with Juan because he said nothing the whole time. He said he didn't like it, but it was true that they turned out well. I said corporal punishment is never okay, but that made him angry. He said, I challenge you to find a single mama Latina who has never hit her children, not even once. That's the way we were brought up, because otherwise we would have become weak men. Then he went on to say that I was suggesting an entire culture of millions of people had been brought up wrong, and that was racist. That's the short version, because we ended up arguing most of the night. I didn't let Maria see our son until she went back to her country, and Juan went to sleep at a friend's. All my friends chalk it up to culture shock and say I'm crazy to die on that hill, and Juan is still very angry with me. So, am I the a-hole and racist? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. He was pretty quick to call you racist because you disagreed with something. That's so BS. It comes across as very manipulative. Not the a-hole. I was a Latin kid. I'm a Latina mother, married to a Latino dad living in a Latin country, and I was never hit by my mom, and we have never hit our children. Considering I am from the US and my parents used wooden spoons and belts on us, I think it's more of a generational thing than a cultural thing. And there will always be some older people that never hit their kids because they realized it was wrong on their own. Not the a-hole. It's not a race issue. My Eastern European mother would do the same. Just because that's the way it always was, doesn't make it any less abusive. You need to talk to your husband about how you want to parent your son. It sounds like you haven't had to resort to hitting so far, so why start now? Just because your mother-in-law is incapable of managing a toddler? My white Anglo mother used to hit me. I even developed a flinch response. My teenage friends would deliberately provoke and laugh about it by raising a hand up near my face. She broke wooden spoons over my sister's butt. What did it teach us? To be aggressive. I had to learn how to manage my emotions in my 20s. My response OP's mother-in-law would be to hit her with a spoon. I cannot stand people who attack the vulnerable. My parents are standard white Americans who hit me as a kid, and all it did was teach me fear and distrust. I never understood why what I did was wrong, thus never learning how to manage my behavior. Like you, my 20s were spent catching up on emotional regulation. It finally clicked that the reason my parents used corporal punishment was because they lacked the maturity and emotional regulation themselves to properly react to children being, well, children. Whatever the outcome and however it affects each individual child, it's not good. Edit. Thanks all for your support, and thanks for clarifying it isn't a cultural thing. Yes, there are older people in my own country who still defend corporal punishment, but him insisting that this is a cultural thing and therefore shouldn't be criticized was bollocks. I tried to contact him to talk, but he keeps leaving me on red while uploading stories at a pub at the same time. I'm furious, honestly, but I'll see what I can do. Now for the first update 5 months later. Hi everyone, it's been a while. I had forgotten about this account, but I was cleaning this computer before selling it, and I was still logged in. So, on my last post, my mother-in-law came to visit our country. She and my husband Juan are from South America. We left her alone with the baby for a moment, only to find out she had hit him because he was behaving like a baby. My husband defended her and called me racist, because according to him, every Latin American parent hits their kids and it's okay. But it's not okay with me at all. So, the situation kept going on for a while. This became a huge issue in our marriage, and then Juan confessed that he had also hit our son when I was at home. He believes that is the only way to discipline a child, and that gentle parenting doesn't work. That was it for me. The problems got bigger and bigger, while he kept insisting that this way of parenting is the reason why Latin Americans are more resilient than people in northern countries, and that people here are too soft and sensitive. We started fighting every single day, and then I just asked for a divorce. After that, he became so verbally violent that now we communicate through lawyers only. I have plenty of evidence of him confessing to hitting our son, and in his testimonies, he confirms it but says it's not that serious. This is stressful, and I'm not doing well. So I have to sell a few things to pay for bills and debts. I'm going for full custody, while he is doing the same, claiming that I'm an unfit mother for not teaching our son discipline. Well, enough of my drama. I have to go and do something else. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for standing up for your kid. You're a good mother. Your husband is an a-hole, to say the least. I have a Latina mother, and she never even attempted to hit me once in my first 20 years of life. I moved to a different country when I got married, and actually defended me when my dad was about to hit me when I was around 7 or 8. Hitting oftentimes creates adults with a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear to voice out their feelings. Same story for me. Both my Latina mom and non-Latino father were disciplined through belts and paddles as kids, and neither wanted to be that kind of parent with my brother and I. If anything, it only made them fear their parents and hide information from them. I'm still upset that her soon-to-be ex called her racist over this. Incredibly manipulative. Stay strong, OP. Break the cycle of violence for your child. I love how your ex just openly admits to physical abuse of a baby or toddler and thinks the judge will be on his side. Boy about to learn how El Norte handles that nonsense. Can't believe he called her racist and then spouted some nonsense about Latino supremacy because they hit their kids. Every accusation is a confession with this guy. Report them for child abuse. Even if it doesn't really go anywhere, you'll have it on record and it will hinder his chances of custody. The fact you have messages where he admits to hitting the kid only strengthens the case. Supervised visits only. He is never to be left alone with a child. Edit. I wasn't expecting so many people to read this, but wow, thank you everyone. To be clear, my husband wasn't beating our son in a way that could put his life in danger, but for example, he wrapped a spoon in clothes so when it hit, it still hurt but didn't leave marks on the skin. He described this to me as a way to make me see that it's not that serious, but it's still unacceptable. This is not an attempt to make Latin people look like abusive parents, but Juan really thinks that because he grew up normalizing it, everybody does it, and that people who weren't raised that way are weak. And yes, we had talked about how to raise our child, but I always thought that not hitting them ever was obvious. I'm not sure when I might update with something important. I don't even have a court date yet, so it will take a while, but I'll be reading your comments. Thanks for all of your support, but I can't keep reading your stories of child abuse. I'm so sorry. I'm glad the majority of you are doing better now, but I just can't keep reading them. It's actually making me feel so bad. That's the downside of having empathy. Sorry. Second update another 3 months later. I have no freaking energy for context here. I'm so damn angry and frustrated. My husband and I are divorcing, but this is so slow as you can imagine. He has been such a pain in the butt about it and trying to put every roadblock he could think of. He got silent for some days. Damn silent, like he fell off the edge of the earth. Then he sent me a message of him with his mom on a beach with a beer and a caption that said in Spanish, which translates to something like, "Try to ask me for child support from here, you bitch," and then blocked me. I'm so angry. Nobody knew he left the country. His friends, co-workers, the girl that I have a suspicion he was cheating on me with. Nobody. Seems like he is at his home country, and yes, he is from a coastal city where some of his family members still live in. I'm damn devastated and feel so stupid for ever thinking this could ever be a good man for my child. I was fighting to get custody of our child, only for him to run away like a damn smirking coward. I wasn't expecting to become a single mother with a deadbeat husband at my age, but here I am. Go after court-ordered child support anyway. The judgment will remain if he ever tries to return to the United States, if that's where you live. Get full custody, even if he isn't in the country. It is one way to prevent him from taking the child abroad. You might be able to have his rights taken, so that if you meet another guy and remarry, your new husband could adopt your son, if that's what you decide you want at some point. Make sure the judge sees the photo of your husband on the beach, and when your son is old enough, show it to him too. And him running away to another country isn't good for him either. If he tries to enter back into the country, his passport will flag him, because if OP goes to court and he's a no-show, it is considered contempt. I hate what this country is doing to people that are not from the US lately, but in this case, I would look the other way if he ever tried to come back here. Save what he sent you, go to a lawyer. Going to another country doesn't always mean they're out of reach from the law. Guess he might have assets where you live together? Anyway, go to a lawyer. Especially if the dad is a digital worker employed with a US-based company. Under those circumstances, his wages can be garnished. You should really check to see if his country is part of the Hague Convention. I'd be concerned he may remove the child as well. You should bring this to the attention of your lawyer immediately. Also, I'd wager his friends, family, and girlfriend knew exactly what he was planning. As everyone else has said, still carry on with your child support case in the meantime. I didn't know it existed, but according to Google, his country is part of the Hague Convention. Awesome. Him leaving the country and sending you that text is almost guaranteed to get you full custody. Please save it somehow. Screenshot it if it's on an app that can have messages deleted, and don't delete it on your end for whatever reason. He screwed himself over. Do not block him either. Chances are he may unblock you and give you more ammunition for your custody and divorce case. I know things hurt too much right now to rejoice in that, but I do pray that one day you can look back and laugh over how royally he screwed himself. Last story. Am I the a-hole for reconsidering my engagement after he told me he will cheat on me if I don't have sex with him? My fiancé 28 and I 29 female have been engaged for 3 months. This weekend he wanted to talk. He basically told me that he's read lots of stories about wives losing their libido and putting their husbands through a dead bedroom, or only having sex once a week. He said he will never accept that fate for himself, and if I neglect him sexually, he will likely sleep with other women, as in cheat on me. He felt that he needed to tell me this because sex is important to him and he needs me to understand that he's not going to be the guy who jerks off in the garage like a loser for the rest of his life. If I potentially want him to be okay with less sex, then he is not the one for me. I was stunned and started to cry. He tried to console me and told me that he wouldn't cheat if I got sick and couldn't have sex, but he doesn't want to be sexually neglected otherwise. I left, and I've been reconsidering the engagement. I talked to my mom, and she just said that he's just saying this, he won't cheat, and he won't have time to cheat when he's busy with household responsibilities. My friend said that any man will eventually cheat if he's not getting it at home, so even if I leave him, I'll be in the same position with any other man. Don't get me wrong, I have friends who are supportive of me. It's just that everyone likes him, especially my mom. She thinks I'm missing a lifetime opportunity if I leave him. What makes me even more mad is that he himself is the most supportive of me in this whole thing. He's being understanding and acknowledges that I may not feel safe with him because of his comments. He's telling me to make the decision on my own and not to care about what my mom has to say because it's my life. He has never given me any reason to doubt him or see him in a bad light. It's the best relationship I've ever had. That's why I agreed to marry him. I get that sex is important, but still, would all men really risk their marriage for it? I am filled with doubts. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This man is not ready to be in a serious relationship, and you deserve someone that will respect you. I feel that he doesn't really want to marry me, and that's why he is being so supportive. He doesn't want to be the bad guy and end the relationship. Just ask him if the roles were reversed and he wasn't fulfilling your needs. Would he be okay with you cheating on him? I did. He told me that would never happen. He will never neglect me. That is simply not true, hun. It's easy to say stuff like that when we cannot fathom being in the other place. I don't think you should take what he says lightly. His comment shows that he prioritizes sex above the relationship. Married for 34 years, we've been through everything together. Cancer, deaths, the stress of caring for kids and aging parents, you name it. Life events take a toll on your sex life. Want to know what my husband and I did when we weren't as intimate as we wanted to be? We made time for each other. We found ways to reconnect. Want to know what he didn't do? Cheat. He has a really close group of friends. Want to know what they would never consider doing? Cheating on their wives. This any man will eventually cheat stuff is utter rot. Emotionally mature men find ways to communicate and grow with the women they love. I hope you don't settle for less. We've been together for 21 years. We have 2 children, a daughter with special needs, jobs taking a toll, stress, fatigue. But never ever did one of us cheat or force the other to have sex. OP, you're not the a-hole. I'm feeling he doesn't want to marry you and is giving you a reason to leave, so he doesn't come out being the a-hole for breaking off the engagement. Maybe he already has his eyes on another woman and is searching for a way out. Who knows? If not, what he is asking is just not fair.